What's up, everybody? It's Alex from Heavy New York, invading California for Namm 2020, and we're here with Ash of Revocation. Thank you so much for your time.
How's it going, Alex?
It's great to have you here. You were the first interview ever on Heavy New York, along with Dave Davidson, and of course, he's making fun of my name.
No, it's a nice name tag.
Yeah.
I got mine under here. Yeah, is that right? Yeah, we got. I'm actually staying with Dave Davidson. Here are my credentials, just so you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm staying with Dave. He's doing a bunch of stuff. The Heavy Metal Alliance, I think it is.
Allegiance.
That's the one. Yeah. But here we are. It's nice to be back.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. You know, you're well into the record cycle for the outer ones at this point. Do you just want to talk about how the record cycle was for this and everything? Because I know that you played it in its entirety on the recent tour with Voivod and so much. I mean, it seems like the record's been doing great, right?
Did you see any of that tour, by the way?
Towards the end of it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that was great. Playing it in its entirety was a bit of a challenge for sure. It's a pretty athletic kind of record, at least from a drumming perspective. So, but yeah, I mean, it took us to a lot of interesting places. You know, next month we're going. Oh, this month I think we're going to Australia, Japan, and then Hawaii. We're going to go play a show. And so yeah, we did Europe a couple times on this album cycle. We did Mexico, South America. So I mean, it's been really good album cycle so far. Yeah.
When you joined up with Revocation, were you looking at Great Is Our Sin and the records before that being this is how I have to play, or did Dave and the rest of the band kind of want you to bring a little bit of your own mix to the group?
Well, Great Is Our Sin was my first record with the band, and I understand the aesthetic of a band when I hear it for the most part, and that it, you want to give the fans what they want, but you also want to progress too, and then you also want to do your own thing as a new member as well. So I felt like I fit in pretty well, just writing wise and stylistically. I could blast and I could play odd meters and all this kind of stuff. So I felt a lot of personal freedom in order to express myself. So it wasn't that big of a challenge, because Dave and I talk a lot about the music that we're trying to make, and just the general vibe. And he'll challenge me consistently to sort of up my drumming game, and so I feel just that is what works for Revocation.
Interesting. Now, as a drummer, do you need to hear riffs and melodies and before you lay down the rhythm and the beat and all that, or do you sometimes have a whole drum pattern or beat written out and then maybe stuff is written over that?
Yeah, usually I like to have music to play along to. It's just I'm there to accentuate and elevate a riff, so I need to have a riff before I can really get into that. I write drum patterns and stuff like that all the time, and I demo them out. But usually, yeah, it starts guitar and drums, and so it's usually Dave will send me over riffs, and then I lay down the opening ideas of drum tracks on top of it. So that's kind of how we work.
Awesome. Yeah. One thing I was curious about is, as a lot of people know, you were in 3 Inches of Blood before joining up with Revocation. Now, in the end, I've always said, whether you're playing smooth jazz or you're playing grindcore, in the end, for a drummer, I think it's all about keeping rhythm and keeping beat, kind of the same purpose. So is it a different mind frame or a different process drumming for 3 Inches of Blood versus Revocation, or is there maybe a similar method behind the madness?
Oh, yeah, a similar method. It's all kind of heavy metal at the end of the day, or it's it's ultimately heavy rock at the end of the day. Even progressive death metal, you ask most of those guys or girls who who you revere, whoever is a progressive death metal band, who their favorite artists were growing up, 9 times out of 10 they'll probably reference a Judas Priest kind of Iron Maiden kind of thing, so.
Or Neil Peart.
Or Neil Peart, for sure. Which was obviously, he was a huge influence on me too. It's different, but it's also the same. It's all music. It's all rock and metal and stuff like that. And it just kind of depends on what you want to accomplish with the riffs and with the melodies and all that stuff. So yeah, 3 Inches was a rock band, a heavy rock band, and Revocation is a few more aggressive notches up from that, but it's like a spectrum, I mean, I'm I'm a musician, not just a drummer, so I feel like I can step into different roles and occupy them well. Yeah.
Now I have two more questions for you. When it comes to playing live, I've talked to a lot of vocalists and guitar players about this. They always say playing live is a different art than just playing in the studio because you have to interact with the crowd and all that. For you, being a drummer, you're behind the kit in both scenarios. So, is there maybe a similar energy or a similar strategy playing live versus like in the studio or practice space, or is it a completely separate game altogether?
Yeah, it's definitely a separate game for sure. There's lots of like mental prep and physical prep, at least as far as drumming goes, for sure, before you hop up on stage. And even like in the studio, you're doing different takes, and they all got to be like the top performance of your lifetime because you're trying to capture a moment in the studio. And live, it's like you get to feed off the energy of the crowd and your bandmates, so it's different in that regard. You don't have like a full audience in the studio with you while you're tracking, to get you all hyped up and everything like that. But being on the stage is, yeah, it's different. It's a lot more visceral kind of experience, and it always gets me hyped up just to like try and play my absolute best.
Awesome.
It's great.
And the final question is let's just do a quick drum gear rundown. What are your weapons of choice?
So I'm Sabian cymbals, Tama drums, Vic Firth sticks, Evans drum heads, and then what else? That's about. I use like Roland triggers and stuff like that just for the kick drums. Sabian cymbals. Some of my favorite cymbals are like HH Explosions, 19-inch cymbal. The Neil Peart Paragon China or the Chad Smith Holy China. Some of my favorites. Let's see, steel, like a steel snare drum or a brass snare drum from Tama. It's probably one of my Starphonic, one of my favorite snares. I use their Birch Babinga drum set, but I'm also getting a new Birch Walnut drum set from them, which I'm really looking forward to playing on. And then, Evans, the hybrid snare drum head is one of my favorites, and the sticks I use are 3As, heavy wood, and I like the balance of the 3A drumstick. Yeah.
And you kind of led me into that because, like, is this just like this is the gear you've always used, you're the most comfortable using it, or does it also like best suit the style of music that you play?
It suits the style of the music, and I'm comfortable with it, and it's like I've tried a bunch of different things over the years, so that's kind of just currently what I've landed on. But things always change. You want to try new stuff, different sizes, and different sort of makes and models or whatever. So yeah, that's kind of just where I'm at right now. But yeah, Tama, Sabian all the way for sure. Those are all great companies, and they make great stuff. There's so many great companies out there who make really top quality stuff. But yeah, I think Tama, for my money, and for metal and stuff like that in general, that's some of the best stuff for that genre in particular. So. Yeah.
So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. Is there just anything else you would like to promote for Revocation for the Outer Ones record cycle? I mean, the record's brutal. There's probably still some life in it, despite it being almost 2 years old.
Yeah. I mean, we got a bunch of stuff going on this year, we're always kind of working on music slowly but surely, and eventually we kind of just ramp up towards another record. So I mean, we're still going strong. I'm doing stuff on the side as well, band-wise and everything that I always try and stay busy with. So does Dave. We just all kind of, I do think there's lots more juice left out of the Outer Ones because it seems to be received really well. So we'll do a few more things this year, and then we'll probably get to a new album in the next year and a bit. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Ash, thank you so much for coming back on.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Everybody, Ash of Revocation. Pick up the Outer Ones if you haven't already. This is Alex from Heavy New York. We'll see you next time. Namm 2020.